you would stand for the pledge and the prayer. If that is something that bothers you, please excuse yourself and then come back into the room.
You join me in the pledge. I
pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stretch, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for bringing us for this day. Thank you for the gift of life and your continuous love for us. We pray for your protection and guidance, Lord. May you bless this night ahead. Thank you so much for bringing us all together tonight, and please continue to bless our families and our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Stretch. You need a roll call, please?
Counselor Naranjo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Here.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Counselor Bradshaw will be excused this evening, and Counselor Sabella will be excused this evening. But we do have a quorum this evening.
All right, thank you. Any modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
All right. Approval of consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting from April 2nd, 2026, and a review and approval of accounts payable.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda from the minutes of regular meeting April 2nd, 2026, and approval of accounts payable. Any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Naranjo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker,
Aye.
motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll go to citizen comments and special presentations. Citizen comments, city council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this same meeting. Monty?
Evening, everybody. Good to see you. I'm Monte Shove, and I'm here to ask the hard question tonight. Y'all are getting ready to discuss our water situation and our watering schedules. And we know we have a problem. Nobody's questioning that. But we're going to go to restrictions, and I've been asked several times, so I'm bringing it to you all. Is the city golf course and the schools going to be required to adhere to the rules that you're setting on us as citizens? Simple question. Something for y'all to consider.
Okay, I believe that will be answered, Rob, correctly. When you talk about it, or do you want to?
I can address that now. if you'd like.
Go ahead, Rob, please.
So while I cannot speak for the golf course or the school district, for the city and our parks, whatever council decides tonight as far as what water restrictions you put on, our staff will adhere to it as far as addressing the golf course and the school district. Once council makes a decision, I will send out letters to both the golf course and the school district, making sure that they are aware of what council decides tonight, so they can make the necessary adjustments as you decide. So we will make sure that everybody is aware. I will also send letters out to all commercial properties, depending on what happens, because depending on which resolution you guys choose, there are some differences in that. So, all right, does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Monty. Any other citizen comments? Mr. Glover? Commissioner Glover, thank you. Gene, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Mine's real short and sweet. I'm on the Home Lake Foundation committee. And I asked Gigi and Anita before the meeting started if I could show these. These are banners we want to hang on there at the sign posts or on the fence, and then at the post there in the corner. I talked with Rob. He said that he was good with it. So I just want to make a presentation to you guys. I think you deserve to see it this year. So that's all I had.
Right. Thank you, Gene.
Thanks.
Any other citizen comments? Bob? No? Anybody? Okay. You guys got something? No? Okay. No. The scheduled appearances, in order to be included on this portion of the agenda, you have to file the appropriate paperwork with the city clerk by noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So our first one will be water issues in the San Luis Valley with Pat McDermott.
Good
Welcome,
evening,
sir.
good evening, Mayor Becker. You have who will advance you?
Nita will advance for you.
Thank you, Nita. I'm Pat McDermott from the Division of Water Resources. And thank you for the ability to come in this evening and talk to you about our water situation in San Luis Valley. Many of you are already aware, we are in dire straits with our water supply in 2026. We harken back to 2002 and 1977 with this much of a severe drought. I made a presentation. I'll try to take about 15 minutes of your time with questions, if you don't mind. Can everybody hear me okay? Thanks, Carla. No elephant heat report tonight, other than it's in bad shape too. I wish y'all would invite me back here on March 9th, because when you looked around the state of Colorado, back then, generally the state had about 2/3 of our normal snowpack allotment, okay? But as we advance now to April 16th, everything's red. Okay, all right, as we gaze around the state, we see mostly in the teens in the southern area, the Arkansas Basin has been the worst basin for snowpack accumulation all winter long. Quickly or soonly followed after by our basin, and as well as our neighbors to the west, the San Miguel, Dolores, and Animas. 13% does not bode well. And there's numerous SNOTEL stations. You can see the little circles on there that are reporting. The best color we see in the whole state is a yellow, which is, caution, not good. So that's where we are statewide right now. As we zoom into the Rio Grande Basin, here's where the whole basin is. There's 17 SNOTEL sites in our mountains. They have automatic reporting, okay? And it's 17 sites that conglomerate to make this report. Now look how we had just a dead zone in December. Okay, normally the last few years we have been getting December snow. Our snowiest months were always March and April here in the valley, right? Not anymore. It's moved forward. It's January and February. So we expected a little bit more in January. Now we finally got a good snowstorm there in late February. And then the 54 inches reported at Wolf Creek is out here to the right. The jag that you see here in April, early April, that was the 54 inches that they reported. That's the significance of that storm. Without that storm, all but 2 of our SNOTELs would be dry right now. Okay, so we'll move on. The headwaters of the Rio Grande. Now the chart's a little bit better than it is for the whole basin, because our eastern front is in really poor condition right now. It's as bad as I've ever seen it. It's worse than 2002 by quite a bit on the eastern side. The Culebra, the Trinchera, the Medno, there won't be any snow at the visitor center this year. Okay, or any runoff. There won't be any water running down there in the creek at the visitor center this year at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. So the Rio Grande's a little bit better. We only have 2 good sites in the whole basin, and those are Wolf Creek Summit and Middle Creek, and we'll get to those in a second, but I want to draw your attention. The bottom line, that red line, is made up mostly of 2002, a little bit of 2018, a little bit of 1977. So they look back at all the worst years in history and they form the worst snowpack accumulation graph. We've set a new standard in our basin this year and throughout the state. It's very similar throughout the state. Maximum years, you harken back to 85, 86, 87, even 2019 when we had abundant runoff. It's part of that high graph, but you can see how much below the average level. We never even approached the average level in green. Okay. These are individual sites, some of your favorites. Beartown, 7% of normal right now. As you work your way down, Middle Creek at 41%. That's better than Wolf Creek Summit at 39. Cochetope got a little dusting of snow to drop it or push it back up to 100%. That'll melt off in a day or two. 15% for the upper Rio Grande, the Chama 2%. As you work your way through the Sangre de Cristos, pitiful conditions. Okay. All right. What does that do? Well, it leads to a forecast prepared by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. They predict runoff for everyone. We use it as a very important instrument in calculating our obligation to the Rio Grande Compact. Okay? These were 40s to 60% just a month ago. Now, as you look your way down there, look how bad Culebra Creek is. If you're an irrigator in the Culebra Creek or San Luis area, you have not seen a year this bad in history. They've allocated 3/4 of an inch of water for each shareholder. That's the worst they've ever allocated. And right now they can't even get water out of the dam because they have a failure right now with the valve works. But gaze at that, Costilla Creek 12%, Trinchera 19%. So what's the best ones? Swatch Creek. Swatch generally have the best snow in the basin during the winter time. The one most important for the Monte Vista residents and maybe our recreators up the Rio Grande, of course, is the Rio Grande del Norte, 36% normal. Now, one thing I want to point out quickly, that's a new reference period, 1991 to 2020. The era that we grew up in here, the 80s and 90s, those are the numbers on the right-hand side. And we see significant change when you put the new average in, for example, the Rio Grande del Norte, 480,000 acre feet. That's our April through September expected runoff. That's normal, okay? It used to be 515. And some of the others, because Culebra Creek was 23 and now it's 17. We've moved the average line down. And now we're comparing, we're going to get 12% of the new average on Costilla Creek. So I just want to tell you, basin wide, this may be the worst year you ever experienced. There's a little bit of optimism coming up here at the end, but all right, let's go to the next one. It's really important to note the big rainfall that we got on Wolf Creek in the upper Weminuche last fall. That's that event in blue there, the 2025. But I want to draw your attention. Look back at where we normally peak in June. Early June is always our peak on the Rio Grande at Del Norte if it's a good year. 1985, abundant year. There's 2019, great years, 8,000 CFS. We can only divert about 5,300 out of the Rio Grande. So the rest of that goes on down and pays compact. Now, in scale, 2025. How cool is it to see the comparison of 2025 to the giant flood of 1911? Now, average daily flow at Rio Grande del Norte was 14,000 CFS, but it reached 21,000 instantaneously. It lifted an entire bridge off of its moorings in Durango on the Animas River. That's how powerful that flood was. That was a combination of with the combination of storms in 2025 north of Pagosa was really something, but I just wanted to show everybody what that is in comparison to the flood of 1911. But the benefit of 2025, this last precipitation event we had, the big one in October, mid-October, then we'll go forward. I want to show you a little bit of benefit. Okay, this is a hydrograph of the Rio Grande del Norte, okay? Blue is this year. And we peaked at 1,200, and I don't think we're going to come back. Even with reservoir releases that are ongoing, we won't get back over 1,200 CFS.
Pat,
Right? Yes.
it's kind of hard to see the colors from my eyesight. So when you're saying blue, that's that first peak?
Yeah, the first little peak, Gigi.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
thanks,
it.
Camila. Okay.
So we got to 1,200. We got a couple of the big ditches in. The Empire Canal, Monte Vista Canal ran for hours. I'm not joking.
Right.
It was a few days. They're out of priority. They're not coming back. Only the senior water rights of the Rio Grande will divert for the rest of the season unless we get abundant rainfall. But I want to compare 2026 in blue to 2018 was a terrible year in our basin. It was only 46% of average, so I tried to color code it up above. 2018 was a terrible year in recent memory. Here, 46% of normal runoff. 1977 was 35%. And you can't quite see it, but 2002, the orange trace at the bottom, 25% of normal, okay? That's how bad 2002 was. That's where we're headed. Already on Margarita Creek, we have flow on Margarita Creek now today that's lower than it was the same day in 2002. So some of our streams are already seeing levels worse than 2002. And certainly on the eastern front, the whole San Luis Crystal Range will have flows less than what they were in 2002. Okay, this is called the histogram. This looks back at this nation's second oldest gauging station here, our home in Del Norte. The Rio Grande has measured flow since 1890, and this is a decadal average. I just take every decade, and what's the average? And that's what you see in blue. Why were there so many irrigation wells drilled in the 1950s here in this basin? Look at the 50s, right in the middle of the diagram. Look at all those below average years and significantly below average. So we only average 500,000 acre feet. An acre foot is a football field, essentially a foot deep. A family uses about a third of an acre foot a year per family. So we're talking in thousands of acre feet here. Now, if you go over to the right, we are currently in the worst decadal period in the history of this gauge back to 1890. Without a couple of more abundant years, we'll really set a new record. That's how bad things are in our basin. The next slide shows for the Caneyas, on the bottom, we're missing 17%. Imagine missing 17% of your income over the last 10 years. That's what's happening on the Caneyas, 20 years. And then the Rio Grande, we're missing 15% of our water. So why is it so dry out there? Why are aquifers suffering so badly? Our income is reduced to 85% or 83%. Okay. Reservoirs. We have reservoirs in this basin. You can add them all up and you get about a third of what Blue Mesa Reservoir holds. That's our state's largest reservoir, a little over 900,000 acre feet. These you can see, you can add them up and maybe we get about 250. But they're in pretty bad shape. Sanchez, I just referred to it earlier, 4% of full. Platoro, 47%. At Platoro, they have decided not to make an allocation this year. They're not going to release water for irrigation purposes out of Platoro Reservoir. That's the first time in forever if they've done that. Rio Grande, we got a lot of water stored in Rio Grande. That and Terrace Reservoir are the two reservoirs that have benefited the most from that rain back in October. They stored more water this winter because flows were really up. That storm helped us much more than we can imagine. But these reservoirs are not going to save our irrigators this year. Okay? Isn't enough water in those to save us, right? So what's going to happen? The aquifer is going to get further depleted. This is the diagram that the Rio Grande Water Conservation District has generated since 1976. They measure the change in storage inside the ground in subdistrict number 1, which is the closed basin area, the Holy Land. This is where all the farmers are with potatoes, alfalfa, grains. And look at what's happened to that aquifer over the last 20 years. There's 2002 right in the middle of the graph, the precipitous drop that we had in 2002. Over 200,000 acre feet lost from the aquifer. How do we avoid that this year and plummet ourselves nearly 2 million acre feet in debt to the aquifer? They're trying to do everything they can to preserve that. But if you're a farmer, I mean, you got to make a crop. But if you make potatoes, maybe you won't make any money. You all are dealing with where are we going to dump potatoes, right? Just like 1996. The troubles come at us from many different directions. But this is a major concern. Their plan calls for sustainability to be minus 400,000. Okay? There's no way they can make that in the next 20 years, even with abundant water. Bank account is drawn down. All right. I want to show you a little bit of optimism. If you like warm weather, May, June, and July this year is expected to be well above normal in our area of the nation. We move to the next one. It's a precipitation forecast for May, June, and July. Look at what's coming our way. Up through Arizona and New Mexico, that brings moisture to the San Luis Valley. That's exactly what we need. They are, well, let's go to the next one. The heat remains July, August, and September of this summer. But fortunately, look at this one. I always want to show a little optimism. There we go. Above normal precipitation predicted for our area of the state. Badly needed to fight forest fires. It's my biggest concern for this year is we're going to burn this thing down, just like we did in 08.
And is that based on the predictions of this strong El Nino development?
Yep, let's talk about that in a second. So it's coming. But this is a really, really good thing for the San Luis Valley and all of Western Colorado and the American Southwest, that we're finally going to get some rain July, August, September, and then beyond. Next slide shows us a little bit of what people are calling super El Nino. All right, El Nino makes us wetter here in the San Luis Valley. La Nina makes us drier. La Nina brings moisture from the north part of the United States. El Nino brings it from the south. It's dependent on temperatures of the Pacific Ocean near the equator. So they go and they test this. If it's half a degree Celsius above, they call it El Nino, and that brings moisture our way. If it's half degree temperature below, then it brings an La Nina, which is dry for the southern part of the state. Right now, the indicators are 2 degrees Celsius above normal. So that's why they're calling it a super El Nino, is there is a likelihood that if those conditions continue, we're gonna have abundant rainfall and please, an abundant snowpack this coming winter. There's one more slide I want to show you on this. There you go. That is classic El Nino, where moisture comes from the Gulf and from the Baja and wets us down. This is exactly what the doctor ordered for our winter to come. All right, I think we got just one more slide maybe. What are our expectations for 2026? This affects you all. We are not curtailing any water on the Rio Grande, which means we allow the senior users of the Rio Grande to essentially dry up the river. We'll probably dry up the river at the Excelsior. We'll probably dry up the river near Alamosa. We do not want to over deliver water in such a low year. You don't pay too much to New Mexico and Texas if you can avoid it. I think it's unavoidable. In 2002, we did over deliver because too much water went down and paid the bill early and late that we couldn't stop. Right now, we're trying to essentially dry up the river, which is legal. It may not be moral, it's legal, okay? So 0% curtailment. We started the irrigation season early in all of our basins, and we'll probably run past November 1st, the normal end of an irrigation season, in order to try to reduce over delivery to New Mexico and Texas. Abnormally high temperatures. So I just pulled up March today. Look at that December. December 2025, Alamosa averaged 11 degrees above normal. Big deal. Oh, big deal. 11 Western states set an all-time high average temperature for December 2020, for December. Not only our state, but all throughout the West, we're in big trouble. Lake Powell, Lake Mead dropping like rocks. Really. So I want to implore the city council and tell you that we are in dire straits. Now, your water rights are secure. City of Monte Vista went through a long court case. I wasn't supposed to, can I have one more minute?
Yes.
I just want to show you and thank you all. Just past I usually end on the ask questions, but I did throw one more slide in there. You all went through a lengthy plan for augmentation. You acquired a plan for augmentation that protects your groundwater use to supply the city. You have the legal right to withdraw from your wells what you need to supply the needs of this city. However, other municipalities within the state of Colorado have already passed ordinances to restrict watering severely this year. That isn't going to solve the problem. It's not. But if everybody contributes a little bit, it'll help. And maybe we can come out on the back end of this at the end of the year just a little bit better than we anticipate. Questions? Okay.
I have a question for the city more than for you, Pat, but where exactly does the city and what percentages, where do we get our water? And
You have, if we can go to my slideshow, there's a series of wells the city of Monte Vista owns and operates, not all of them for municipal purposes, but there are wells and they're augmented, meaning with depletion. When you pump water out of the ground, you're creating a hole in the ground that affects the river and it affects the Excelsior and the Centennial and all the senior ditches downstream. You all have an augmentation plan that puts water back into the system to offset the injury that these wells cause to the system. Go like 3 slides real quick. There's a cool map in there that can help people. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Like 2 slides past the sunset slide. Oh, we're going the wrong way. Sorry. Okay, there's your, go back one, please. There's your list of wells. Okay, not all of those are used for municipal purposes. You see the golf course well, it's gonna be used for golf course, when it's available. Let's go one more. Okay, there's your diagram of where the wells are located. Those are the parks and recreation areas within the city, as well as the wells that are used to supply water. Very good, high quality water comes out of those wells. The water rates are well established, they're well guarded with protection. There's no threat to Monte Vista's city water supply from a water rate standpoint. Okay? Thank you for the opportunity. If anybody needs anything further, I have business cards. I'll leave just a couple with you gentlemen in case you have follow-up questions. Craig Cotton is the division engineer. Many of you are familiar with Craig. And he's our division engineer and he can provide the same information as well.
Thank you, Pat. I've got a quick question. So so Rob's gonna be going through some specific suggestions as far as water restrictions. What have you heard, I guess? I mean, I've seen a lot of Denver news and what some of the Front Range communities are doing. What do you see as the most impactful for our communities, that we still have a beautiful community, but we're taking this into,
Manage your irrigation systems. When water goes through our human bodies, when we wash, when we cook with it, 90% of that water is back into the system. Okay, goes through the city's treatment plant back into the system. When you irrigate bluegrass, you're consuming 2 to 3 feet of water every year. Okay, that and evaporation are our two biggest enemies. Alfalfa, of course, takes a lot of water. But if people can manage, don't waste it off into the gutter where it just evaporates. Manage your water, put it where it needs to be, when it needs to be. You can deficit irrigate in this valley and still have a green lawn. You can still have green alfalfa. You just don't overwater it. Yeah. Okay. That's the biggest deal is people need to manage. Don't run the things when the wind's blowing. Okay. Run them when it's calmer, when it's cooler, so that you get better benefit out of them. So irrigation management, GG, is my answer. I see Adams State. I'm gonna crawl some of these in Adams State and say, look, you gotta cool it, because they're wasting water all over the place. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow.
Is there any way to require irrigators to not irrigate through midday on windy days, or every one of them's their own
So we
decision?
get into the morality of it, is they turn those things on. I mean, I saw one on the way over here, blowing in the wind. Why can't you wait till 10 o'clock tonight with that? You know, these guys need to keep up with their crops. You can't get too far behind on alfalfa, but do it at a reasonable time.
Yeah, are the sub-districts pushing that, or?
Sure they are. Yeah, they're trying to drive fields and do preventive planning. They're trying to do everything to reduce that load on the aquifer this year. But we're gonna sink further into the Hades this year. Sorry, don't quote that, all right? That's why this will do is pumping in some fashion this year. We just get worse and worse and worse. So one good year in this basin can't overcome a really bad year. You cannot.
So I'm curious, for an average center pivot, any ideas how much water they use in a given year on potatoes?
They'll pump on alfalfa, they'll pump 250 to 300 acre feet a year. 80 to 90% of that water is consumed. The rest of it goes back in the aquifer. On grain, they'll pump about 18 inches of water. Then about 90% of that will be consumed, and the rest of it will go back into the aquifer.
And what does the city use?
Oh, yikes. Man, there's always that one question. Anybody here know? What do you guys use about? We use 2,000 acre feet a year. We use, yeah, roughly that. So citywide, we use roughly about 18, 20 million gallons of water a year, a little more.
Gallons don't help me very much.
Keep the back of the car. 1 million gallons equals 3 acre feet. So an acre foot is 325,000 gallons. Okay.
You said how much?
So roughly 200 million gallons a year. Okay, so citywide, multiply times 3.07, you get.
Okay, it's a lot of gallons.
But then citywide, that includes irrigators.
Yeah.
Everybody, all municipalities. Again, you got the legal right to do that, and you have a responsibility to your agency, right? So.
Got one quick question too for you.
Tim Armstrong?
If we had a really, so to get the aquifer back, How many years would that take? Like if we had really
Oh,
good snow for
oh,
like
if you-
5 years.
Oh, if you threw 85, 86, 87, which were all million acre foot years, and we knew to get the aquifer back or to get our system back.
To get,
I mean, 3 big
Start
years like
bringing-
that in a row would kind of get us back, Dale. It really would. To where our river corridor would look healthy again. What are we gonna do this year? We're gonna kill a bunch of fish because the temperature is gonna be so high. When they run out of reservoir water coming down the river, watch out, because it'll be 250 CFS in the Rio Grande. And that's gonna kill fish, because the temperature just elevates. People can be responsible by fishing only before noon, when it's cooler, and releasing them quickly. But it's gonna be devastating on the fishery this year. It'll be so low until we get the rains in July, August, and September. But June is gonna be really tough around here, folks.
So, you said there's no threat to the city's legal right to pump water. Is there a threat to the city's ability to pump water, to have enough water?
No.
Deficit,
Covered by the augmentation.
deficit
Our
pumping?
wells in pretty good shape. Our tank
wells are in good shape. We're refurbishing one right now.
we're doing. Monte Vista done a good job of taking care of their water rights and their physical structure over the years in my career. They've done an excellent job of keeping up with that. So I have no concern about the ability for Monte Vista to serve their citizens this year.
When you use the term well guarded.
You guys, time out a second. So Nita has to transcribe all this the day after. So if you could come up to the microphones and ask the questions and state your name so that we've got it for the record, it'd be really helpful. Thank you.
My name is Maggie Seabach. I live here in town. It's the simple question. When you said well guarded, were you referring to what you just spoke about?
The city has gone to great lengths to protect their water supply. We have rules and regulations for groundwater use in the San Luis Valley. Those were enacted in 2019 and went into full effect in 2021, okay? It requires augmentation. Whatever the city uses that impacts the system or injures the system, they replace that through acquisitions of water rights that they've done over the years. And so the city was forward thinking, filed that augmentation plan in 2016 to be prepared for when those rules went into full effect in 2021. So they took all the necessary steps to give a legal water supply and a healthy water supply for the city of Monte Vista.
that was really interesting. Pat, thank you for that. Being in ag for as long as I have and seeing what changes have come this year, that is like a huge in perspective. Thank you. All right. We will move on to City of Monte Vista water restrictions. Rob?
I'm gonna piggyback on some of what Pat started with, and I'm gonna just to read into record a couple of citizens that had some comments regarding this first. So the first one is Laura Conchalis. She wanted this read in, and it just states, I'm just going to read the email as it was written. So, hey, Nita, I hope you're doing well. I appreciate the city is imposing water restrictions. Everyone in the Southwest needs to be conserving water, especially giving our lousy snowpack this year. I do think that along with allowing people to water on every other day, we don't need to allow people to water 4 days a week. 3 should be sufficient. Also, given the water evaporates during the heat of the day, I'd ask the city to restrict water to early morning watering and evenings, as a lot of other communities do. Along with all of this, I think there needs to be an education component about how to curb our water use that includes not washing cars, etc. This drought we're in requires us all to step up and do everything we can to curb our water usage. Again, thanks to the city for reintroducing the watering restrictions. I'd just like to ask that they be a little stricter and include an education component. I hope that we all also enforce these restrictions. Second letter that came in was from Jenny Nearing. And it says, "Dear members of the city council, I am writing to respectfully urge you to adopt stronger and more proactive water conservation measures than those currently proposed. Our region is experiencing unprecedented hydraulic conditions. Snowpack has been exceptionally low and peak runoff has occurred in late March, well ahead of the normal seasonal pattern. These conditions signal a severe and accelerating water shortage that requires immediate and meaningful action. Given this reality, I urge City Council to implement a more structured and effective outdoor watering schedule. Specifically, I propose an odd and evening water system that allows residents to irrigate no more than 3 days per week, including one weekend day. This structure ensures that at least one weekday each week, when no outdoor watering occurs citywide, providing critical relief to strange water supplies. An example schedule would be odd addresses Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, even addresses Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, no watering on Mondays. In addition, watering should be prohibited between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. when evaporation rates are the highest and water use is least efficient. This restriction is a common sense measure that maximizes the effectiveness of every gallon used. Recognizing that many citizens enjoy planting gardens for food, I recommend a reasonable exception for food gardens, allowing up to 10 minutes of watering per day. This balances conservation goals with the need to support residents growing their own food. Importantly, I encourage the city to adopt a clear, tiered enforcement mechanism to ensure compliance. Without defined enforcement, even well-designed restriction risks being ineffective. The standard approach used successfully in many municipalities include: a first violation is a written warning. A second violation equals a $50 fine. Third violation equals a $100 fine. Subsequent violations, suspension of outdoor watering privileges. Finally, I recommend that the city establish clear criteria for escalating watering restrictions if conditions worsen. One objective and widely accepted benchmark is the U.S. Drought Monitor. These maps are updated every Thursday morning. If our area reaches extreme or exceptional drought classification, additional watering restrictions should be announced to residents. These recommendations are practical, enforceable, and responsive to the severity of the current conditions. Acting now will help protect our limited water resources, reduce the likelihood of emergency measures later, and demonstrate responsible stewardship of a shared and increasingly scarce resource. Thank you for your time and consideration and commitment to addressing this critical issue. Sincerely, Jenny Nearing, 416 Adams Street. All right, so with that, just to give City Council a little bit of prior information before you will see the two resolutions that will come before you. Our watering restrictions have been in place since our water efficiency plan was adopted in 2018. We have been doing a level 1 mild drought condition since that adoption in 2018. And it consisted of residents under even numbered street addresses would water on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Residences with odd street addresses endings would water on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. The watering on those days should be limited to the hours between 12 a.m. and 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday would be considered a watering day for all residences during those limited hour mentioning. No watering should take place between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. during all days. Outdoor landscape watering shall only be allowed by a handheld water hose with an attached positive shutoff nozzle, drip irrigation system, or bucket on any day or at any time for trees, shrubs, planting beds, planters, and or gardens. Newly seeded or sodded lawns should be exempted from these restrictions for a time period needed to establish the lawn, which will not exceed 30 days with city manager approval. Hydrant use would be limited to essential purposes, including but not limited to dust mitigation, selling water to construction sites within the city limits where water service is unavailable. And our goal during these watering restrictions for level 1 is a 10% reduction in total water pumping demands. You will also see what I consider to be our drought level 2 watering restrictions that limit the watering to 2 days per week only, with no watering again between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and no watering on Tuesdays. The way this would be structured would be even addresses would only be allowed to water Thursdays and Sundays. Odd addresses would be allowed to water Wednesdays and Saturdays. Commercial or multifamily properties would be allowed to water on Mondays and Fridays. The fines, now these fines can oppose from both resolutions if you choose. But the first offense would be a warning. Second offense is $100. Third offense is $250 plus a court summons. Fourth or more is a court summons with fines up to $1,000 that would be set by the judge. There's no waiver on the second one for any lawns and no additional cold weather turf. So no Kentucky bluegrass additions. And I have it set up that on the number 12 resolution that their restrictions would remain in effect from April 16th through October 16th, which is our general irrigation season for the city. So, any questions with city council on those? Thank you. Okay. Citizens, anybody have questions?
Yes, Kathy, come up to the mic, please.
State your name, please.
Kathy Armstrong. So the city is included in, if you went to the second level, the city is in.
We're included in both.
In both.
So our biggest area is like Montez Park,
Right.
because that one doesn't have an automatic sprinkler system. So we have historically kind of watered through the day, but under these conditions, I would have to have staff come out at night and do that watering. So we're not watering in the heat of the day.
And that,
Everything else is set up on automatic sprinklers, so we can meet those restrictions. But Montez Park, which is known more along the lines of the skate park, and those two larger parks on either side of the skate park, those are all hand water. We actually have to put manual sprinklers in on those parks.
and then you guys have put a bunch of trees throughout the.
Those are all hand
The-
watered. And there's 188 new trees coming in June.
I love your new tree. I love your trees, but I really like, how are these getting watered?
So we have a trailer, 500-gallon trailer, and we provide water until they get established. So, and that's part of the grant requirement. So, we still have to do that. We want to make sure that.
So that, yeah, so that would be inside this resolution, the second one there, or the first one, where you have garden.
We would have to do that, and that's, I mean, we are obligated by the grant to care for these trees. So we have to do that regardless of what's going on, but they are hand watered. They get 30 gallons a week. So,
Good grief.
so that's not much
It's
for
not
trees.
much.
But that's our limit, so, that would be the minimum. If the conditions, weather, temperature gets higher, of course, we would have to do more, but that's what we have to do with the grant. And our goal is to make sure we want 100% survival
Yeah.
on those trees, and so yes.
Yeah,
So-
and they're great. I love them. So I want to make sure it's good for a while.
Setbacks.
So I'm Tim Armstrong, and I think Gigi mentioned this earlier, really your task here is to, make sure we have enough water for everybody, but also maintain the quality of living in Monte Vista with green yards, and, we all have trees that we'd like to keep alive, and that's one of the things that makes this, I would argue, the nicest town in the valley to live in, is our green space here, right around kind of from, the gun barrel over to here, where lawns are kept in really good shape, and we've got beautiful trees, which the city has done a tremendous job of managing over the years and adding to. So that to me is a fine line to kind of balance those two things. And can I add one more thing to that? And keeping our water bills low enough that we can afford to. Keep our trees means a lot.
Okay, well, now we'll move on. Jake, the golf course update?
Well, I guess come up here after water for the golf course. So I'm Jake Malat and Carla Schreiber. We have headed up a very large project for the golf course. Many of you are probably aware of it. I started about, what was that? When did you give us our first money that we, over 4 years ago? County commissioners kind of, I went to them asking for money. We had a big drain 4 or 5 years ago, and they actually gave me money, and then I said, oh no, now I really gotta do this. And then that's when Carla kind of came on board shortly after, and we've been working, not just us, but many other people. We are now open, on the kind of the water side of it. We have 2 golf simulators in there, so I guess modern day golf, if we don't have grass, we can go inside and play on the simulators, so that's kind of a cool thing that we've put in there. We have a bar gathering area for small parties, and new cart storage, and a new pro shop. So really excited. It's a big upgrade from what we've had for years and years. The golf course here was established in 1928. It's one of the 10 oldest courses here in Colorado. I couldn't tell you exactly what number, but our 100-year anniversary is in 28, and kind of a big thing for us. So the new building, and hopefully we get some snow and water, and we'll have a good course in 28, and that'll be a big thing for the city and for us. In this project, the project cost roughly 700,000, like that.
Well, totally, by the time we get done, it'll be just under $1 million.
With that though, there's around $300,000 to $325,000 of in-kind donations and investments that this community put into it, which I think is pretty awesome. Everyone from the construction people to volunteers to whoever was out there in this process. So, and members are a big thing as well. A lot of the construction people are members as well. So I'd like to thank the city, thank everybody that's been part of it. I mean, it's an asset to the city. The golf course, we kind of took the project on as our own for an asset to the city. I mean, not that the city didn't help, the city wasn't involved, but it's the city's building, you know, and we just lease it, but we kind of try to direct everything and get it done. If it wasn't for Carla, I'm gonna be real honest, it never would have happened. You know, she knows a lot of people and has done a lot of work for us to obtain funds, write grants, do all the things that I have a full-time job. I'm a volunteer. Everybody else that's there is volunteers. It's just time and it takes a lot of time and effort. So thank you, Carla, for helping that happen. With that.
Well, I guess what I'd like to say is, back in 2006, the golf course, there was a study. And it was identified then that the buildings and a lot of the infrastructure there was obsolete and in very poor shape. And it's taken 20 years to upgrade that and get it to where it is. And I want to thank Jake for leading the cause. This has definitely been a community-led effort. And without the county giving the money to leverage our other grants, and then the commitment from the local construction people, I don't believe this project would have happened. It worked out, and congratulations for the project, and it's going to be a great asset. And I think it's going to, this new building, and we're not done. There's still some things to do out there, fencing and whatnot, but we're kind of stalled out at the moment. But I believe this new building will breathe life into the golf course and make it more usable and more people. I've already started hearing about, you know, people from Alamosa talking about the simulators. So that's going to be a huge draw. And yes.
With the simulators too, there's also a multi-sport simulator in there. So if you don't play golf, our vision was to have it. It's like a giant Wii. It's a 14-foot screen. There's zombie apocalypse dodgeball. There's frisbee golf. There's kicking field goals, kicking soccer goals. So our vision is to have little kids' birthday parties. You know, yeah, you go to bowling alley, and that's fine. Nothing against bowling alley, but just another option for people to have parties, have get-togethers, class reunions, whatever, and have something to do while they're doing that in there. So it's not just golf. We do have the multi-sport as well.
Can I play virtual pickleball?
Maybe, I don't know if it's in there. I haven't seen pickleball, but there is quite a bit in there. I think there's 21 different games in there. So
My wife decided to play pickleball. I'm trying to catch up. So
there you go. With that, our grand opening is May 8th. So we're gonna invite city council, any members, community, everyone's invited, don't have to be a member. 1 p.m. I'd like to ask you, Dale, to say a little something at the ribbon cutting, if you would, put you on the spot, about it. We can get together on that too, or whatever, but, we're gonna have a food truck there. I have a couple handouts I'll leave in the back, flyers, and, try to just get the word out there that we're open and, going. The simulators, are gonna be, we have a brand new website that volunteers created, and it's called Golf Monte Vista. Go check it out. Everything will be booked and paid for on the website. So we'll have a calendar, times that you can rent the simulator or book a tee time on the simulators for parties for that. We're not quite there yet. Hopefully May 1st is our go date for that.
And even when I said that $1 million figure, there's been a lot of contributions by the construction people that actually didn't get factored in. We were able, Sarah Stober at DRG worked with us so that we could get enterprise zone tax credits for the contractors. And it worked. It was a learning experience for us all, but we got it done. And I know some of the contractors did not claim all of the stuff that materials and time that they could have claimed. So really that figure was a lot more. And we need to really thank those contractors for what they did and the volunteers, because they really pulled a heavy lift for that deal. Not just the money and the grants we got, but they pulled a heavy lift on what they donated. It was definitely a team effort that way.
Yes.
You guys have a list of all those folks?
I do have a list that I didn't bring it tonight, but yes, we do have a list. There will be a plaque in the clubhouse that shows all the donors, money wise, monetarily, in kind donations, and so on and so forth. That we kind of, when we were doing the project, we put that out there that would be, your name would be there, or your company's name forever, up in or however long, in the new building. So, and on the 9th, we have poker night, I guess, for the Kids Connection, correct? And so that's gonna be our first big event there, right after the grand opening on the 8th, so. Yeah, I think that's on radio and things like
It
that.
will be.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it will be.
I think people said they've heard ads on the radio already, I don't know.
Has there been?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna get that.
Ryan's already had it.
So I think they're expecting 50 or 60 to play poker that night or whatever, so, yeah, be fun.
I'm hoping Nika can give us a report on that. I think she's up tonight.
Thank you guys, it's been a long time, but we are open and hopefully it's a great asset for the town and community in the future.
There will be-
time was the May 8th event?
1 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
For all you've done, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, we will move on to resolutions. 2026-11, a resolution establishing water restrictions on sprinkler systems and lawn irrigations. Bring it to us, Rob.
All right, hello. Technically in front of you, you have a choice of 2 resolutions tonight for you to pick from. Resolution 2611 is actually a renewal of a resolution that has been in place technically since 2018, but is a renewal of resolution 07-2021. And it establishes water restrictions and desires said restrictions to be as simple as possible to enact for residents, and therefore let it be resolved that City Council and the City of Monte Vista deems it necessary to place watering restrictions on water use for irrigation and sprinkling. And the watering restrictions will be that odd numbered addresses can water on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday of each week. And even numbered addresses can water on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And all residents may water during watering hours on Sunday of each week. And during the duration, these restrictions shall be enforced from April 16th through October 16th of 2026, and authorizes Gigi Dennis, Monte Vista City Manager, to enforce said restrictions per code. And that follows with the sheet that's attached before that, that talks about the Monte Vista watering restrictions 2026, that allows no watering between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And as I outlined earlier, plus you also have, if you choose to go with a little more stringent, is resolution 26-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Monte Vista, Colorado, declaring stage 2 drought watering restrictions on sprinkler systems and lawn irrigation, whereas the City of Monte Vista Municipal Code Section 10-3-140 sprinkling restrictions allows City Council to establish restrictions for the use of water irrigation or sprinkling purposes. And whereas the City Council finds that resolution number 07-2021 should be increased to stage 2 drought based on current conditions. And whereas the City Council desires to conserve water by establishing watering restrictions and desires said restrictions to be as simple as possible to enact for residents, and now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Monte Vista. 1, deems it necessary to place restrictions on water for the use of irrigation or sprinkling for lawn watering to 2 times per week based on address. And 2, even addresses, Thursdays and Sundays, odd addresses, Wednesdays and Saturdays, commercial and multifamily properties, Mondays and Fridays, time prohibited, no watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and no watering on Tuesday. And fines. The first offense is a written warning. Second offense is a fine of $100. Third offense is $250 plus a court summons. Fourth or more is court summons and fines up to $1,000. There are no waivers for and no cool weather turf. The duration of these restrictions shall be enforced from April 16th through October 16th, 2026, and authorizes G.D. Dennis, Monte Vista City Manager, to enforce said restrictions per the code. Before I go any further, a couple things for council to think about on fines. There isn't a current code enforcement agent, and the police are functioning very short-handed right now. So, as council considers fines, please, I'm sure the chief would appreciate you trying to keep in mind that his officers are probably very well overwhelmed right now and trying to do that. I am more than happy to write warnings and try to educate our citizens to keep them within those restrictions. But as far as Public Works is concerned, we don't have any enforcement capabilities. So it would take the officers in order to write any summons or any type of citations. And that would be an added burden on those officers that are already probably I'm sure they're stretched very thin. So, like I said, on either resolution, you do have the power to set fines. That is within your purview to do. The court and the judge would have the ultimate say as far as where those fines would ultimately go. But, and that's why I put court summons in there, is under the municipal code. The judge has the final say as to how far those could escalate. Within that parameter, that's well beyond where I don't normally reach into that realm. So, but we do have some leeway there. Like I said, resolution 11, you folks as city council have been enacting that since 2018 and have been renewing it since 2021.
That was one of my questions. Has it been renewed every year?
It has been renewed every year. And I think based on what I hear tonight from the residents, that might be something we want to continue. DJ and I were talking about just putting that in the code, but it sounds like that's something we might need to continue to do a little more formally each year, just to make sure that the residents know that the restrictions are in place and we don't catch them off guard. Because, we have done it historically more as a courtesy and just to try to conserve water. This is the first year where it's really more of a mandatory thing and not just a good neighborly thing. We need to do that to really protect our community. So I will. Questions or
Going out and warning people and trying to educate them, I think that's important. And living through the fire in the city, I can't say anymore, but the water is our most crucial item. It'll be worth more than gold at one point sometime in life.
It is technically worth more than gold now, because
So,
it is a
I have
commodity that doesn't
my-
regenerate very well.
Yeah, and seeing the situation with ag, as far as city goes as well. There are things people can do to water and keep their lawn in good shape on a very short two-day deal. There are
Right.
things people can do, so.
You can keep your lawn very healthy on 2 days a week with limited hours. According to our water efficiency plan, drought stage 3 would reduce watering to 1 day a week, which would mean you would water just enough to keep your grass alive. And that I don't believe we are there yet. Understanding moving to 2 days a week, especially in the heat of the summer, our grasses are gonna be brown. And so there are gonna be some brown spots and some things in our parks are not gonna look quite the standard that we have had in the past. So, like I said, it's completely up to you. I think we would meet our standards if we enforce the 3 days a little stricter. And for ourselves, make sure like Montez, we're not watering in the heat of the day. It's gonna cost a little extra to have staff come in at night and water. But we used to do that. When we had a little bigger staff, we used to have staff come in at night and water, 6 to 10.
So I'd like to make a suggestion here. You know, you're starting to get your grass going. So I'd like to offer alternative between the two. That we go to 3 days for 1 month, or at least until maybe June 1, just to get your grass going, and then go to 2 days. Once you get your grass going, it's easier to keep it going,
Absolutely.
but sometimes you have to get it started.
Sure.
And I just was talking to folks today, I don't know if everybody's heard of, it's called, I've never heard of it, called humic acid.
Yes, sir.
That is something to put on your grass. That helps it retain moisture. So. That's
very true statement there.
Yep. So that's a good thing to help. So I'd like to make a suggestion or a motion that we go to 3 days. So odd would be Monday, kind of modifying, nobody waters on Sunday. Take our current thing and nobody waters on Sunday. I'll bet you June 1, then we go to 2 days. And it gives people time to get the lawn started. It's new stuff on there I've never used it before, so I'm hearing that it works. It helps.
It does
help
immensely.
So people have an opportunity to do that.
There's products out there that people can purchase to do that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and council, so a couple other things to think about. One is, we've also got the new houses that are being built by CRHDC. And so those will likely have some sort of a lawn of we've put limitations on the side. So think about that, because stage 2 said no lawns. So it helps with your comments, Councilor Howard. The other thing is that we can write the resolution however you want it. But we could also just see how this goes. And then the first meeting in June, bring back another resolution that then says, let's go into stage 2. Or if some of these monsoons begin to hit and we're feeling on the lucky side, you can extend it for as long as you want.
Sure. Are you suggesting then that we, kind of go to the modified, are you talking about keeping our current resolution or am I suggesting on a 3-day thing to start with? I think 3 days gives you a reasonable chance to get your lawn started.
Sure.
Here. And then June, revisit it? Is that what you're suggesting? Okay. All right.
Not water on Sunday.
No water Sunday.
Sunday. Easy enough.
So it says you take our current one, but no watering on Sunday.
Got it.
And then June 1, for our first meeting, come back and see what's going on. In the meantime, I know what I'm gonna be doing as far as helping my lawn this year.
And would you take the current one with the modifications, with the fees? And the modifications for the watering? No watering between 10 and 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll redraft 11 with no watering between 10 and 6 and no watering on Sundays.
Well, that'll make this
Yeah.
good sense, any, no matter what you do.
Yep.
I don't care if you've got drought conditions or
Did
not.
you want any
One,
fees
one,
attached
one,
to that?
You know,
Pardon?
Did you want any fees attached to that or just an educational?
you know,
Please.
I would, cause you're right. The PD they got bigger things they need to deal with than be chasing people that are watering out of turn. But hopefully people will listen and understand the seriousness of this. And just be able to coach them along, maybe give them some ideas would be huge for right now. And I think if we end up in June having to go to the stage 2, then leave the fees, the fines there, but so it catches their eye. It's like, if you don't listen to me, then this is something that's gonna happen. That's my thought.
And those fees are high enough to where I think people would wanna make the quick change, you know, they wouldn't wanna.
People in their pockets.
Yeah,
Especially with $5 fuel right now.
yeah, with the diesel and stuff, yeah.
You gotta step up. Yes, ma'am.
I can remember. Terribly getting old, Margot Alexander, and I was just thinking that we need to put attention in the paper, on the radio, let people know in town the severity of what's going on. The education part needs to be out there. So they know why we're doing that.
Or the radio and the paper right here tonight.
That would be my main. Definitely. So that was just my thought. You've got to get information
Yeah,
out.
a couple more questions and we'll go ahead.
No, Tim Armstrong again, I like your proposal, Counselor Howard. I think that's a really nice transition. We've had a very dry winter. Our lawns have been, they've been bare all winter long. And so I'm curious about the humic acid, and I'm wondering if perhaps additives like that could help people. I know fertilizer helps your lawn, your grass use less water. Perhaps articles in the paper could include information. I am not very knowledgeable about that, but maybe someone else would be more knowledgeable about some suggestions for residents to help reduce water loss and green their lawns.
There is information out there, but I'm not gonna talk about it in the council meeting.
Sure, that'd be great if we could provide that as part of that education piece.
Monty,
Clarification, if we do the 3,
Monty, you need to be up here, please.
Monte Shof, I just want clarification if we're doing the 3. So that I can tell people we're gonna do odd Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And even Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted it straight.
No Sundays.
No Sunday.
10 to 6. Nothing 10 to 6. And we're visiting it again at the first council meeting in June. Tell them that too.
There we go. And I just wanted to make sure on the days.
And we will have this up on the website, and we'll have a separate page that shows watering restrictions. And we'll have it all laid out along with information on everything as well.
Will that print on the water bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll also do an educational piece for the website, so Nita can post that on there as well.
Mayor Pro Tem, I need you to withdraw your first motion.
I didn't make one.
You made a motion to go into stage 1 until June 1st and then go into stage 2.
Sure. I'll withdraw that. I made that.
Is humic acid something you can purchase locally?
Oh, yeah.
too? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was down in Alamosa. I asked somebody who does a lot of landscaping with us. And said, we go to water restriction, what can I do? What can I do? And I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I just asked and voila. Oh, here's this, it's HUMIC acid.
Yeah.
It's humic acid.
Humic
Cause
acid.
I use fertilizer.
That helps,
Never
helps your lawn,
except
gain
humic
water,
acid.
for other things too.
Don't cut it short. Keep it long.
Okay,
So,
Set your lawnmowers.
so,
I've got it, so. Stand up here until you vote, or?
well, then we have to make a motion because we withdrew or not.
Well,
Chastised to
you
withdraw my
can,
motion.
you can,
Attorney clerks?
you can make the motion for resolution 2026
Dash 11.
with,
Modifications.
with the modifications.
Yes, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-11, a resolution of the city council of the city of Monte Vista, Colorado, establishing water restrictions on sprinkling systems and lawn irrigation. With the modification that no watering happens on Sunday. And the rest of it's only watering between, I don't see that in there.
It's not
Only-
now added.
It should be added, no watering between 10 and 6.
Yep.
Okay.
10 to 6.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 2026-11, a resolution of the city council of the city of Monte Vista, Colorado, establishing water restrictions on sprinkler systems and lawn irrigations with said modifications. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Naranjo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Yes.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2026-11, a resolution of the city of Monte Vista. Of the city council of the city of Monte Vista, establishing watering restrictions and sprinkler systems and lawn irrigation with the modifications of no watering on Sundays and no watering between 10 and 6.
And do we need anything to make sure this comes back to the agenda on the first meeting in June?
It'll be June 4th.
They got us.
Okay.
Yeah, June 4th.
We'll go to contracts, agreements, and leases. Water lease agreement between the city of Monte Vista and the Rio Grande Water Conservation District. This Gigi or who?
Rob.
Rob?
Rob.
All right. I will not bore you with that entire agreement, but basically this is a water lease agreement between the city and the Rio Grande Water Conservation District. Again, this was touched on by Pat's thing. That the city owns a total of 31.9% of the Anderson ditch priorities, 90 and 143. During our plan for augmentation, including a change of 3.23 cubic feet per second of the city's 4.23 cubic feet per second interest in the Anderson ditch priorities. We acquired a decree in April 1st of 2025 that we can use that irrigation use to include to exchange, replace, and augment. Currently, the city owns 155.49 acre feet of fully consumable water stored at the Rio Grande Reservoir. Of that, we have 8.03 acre feet of needed replacement for our water consumption for injurious stream depletions under the plan. And we now wish to dedicate that 8.03 acre feet to sub-district 2. And then we plan on leasing 130.46 acre feet of that, what we classify as excess stored water, to the others within the Rio Grande district. And we would like to retain 17 acre feet of storage within the Rio Grande Reservoir account. So basically what I'm just presenting this to city council so you're aware of it. Gigi is As long as you approve it, she's going to sign it, but, I know I kind of went through that really quickly. So basically, we have, in a nutshell, we have 155 acre feet of storage of water stored in Rio Grande Reservoir. We need just slightly over 8 acre feet to replace our depletions from our well usage. And that's going into sub-district 2 as part of our court case to fix our depletions from our well usage. And then we would like to lease to Rio Grande Water Conservation District 130 acre feet, so they could use as they see fit throughout that district for whatever needs they have. And then that would leave us a total of 17 acre feet at Rio Grande storage just to keep there for future use. So it is agreed with Rio Grande. Everybody's happy with it. The state is happy with it. The water users are happy with it. So as long as you guys are happy with it, we can move forward with it.
Tell us again, how many used gallons, which is fine for me, how many gallons a year does the city use? More or less?
Roughly, it's about 200 million gallons total.
200 million gallons total,
Yeah.
all water use.
So if you were to put that in perspective, it's about 2 circles, almost 3 circles of total use. So if you compare that to farms, we use about 3 circles total throughout the stuff.
So question I have,
That's about 600 acre feet. We'll do that.
630, according to that.
Yeah.
Okay, I rounded.
is there any benefit of not leasing it and just keeping it for future credit? Or I'm just asking.
So this is what council decided 30 years ago. I think
Yeah.
we went into this when we realized that we had excess water that was just sitting there being unused. And so by selling it, we're selling that lease for a year back to Rio Grande for them to use it in sub-district 2. And then that brings additional revenue into the city. So it's just not sitting there going to waste.
And that still, based on the numbers you said, that still covers us for with what's left for.
Right, we still have in storage enough for next year's depletions, plus some extra. So we basically have 2 years of our depletions in storage. All the time. And then whatever extra we get would still go in there so we could lease in future years. And it's kind of a compact that we've made with Rio Grande, just to keep them, because it does go to the users, so it goes to the farmers, and it helps them throughout. So we are doing community service to our greater community. So, and we're doing our part to help the stream depletions to make sure, as Pat was saying, there's some streams that are going to be really hurting. So what we're putting back is we're fulfilling our legal requirements to put our depletions back in, and we're doing our part to also help those farmers that are relying on surface water for their irrigation for their crops. We're giving them a chance to actually grow a crop and make a living, basically. So we're doing our part more ways than one, and it's not hurting us. So we always keep in storage our depletions. We always have, like I said, right now under this agreement, we have 2 years worth of depletions if there was nothing else going into Rio Grande Reservoir. If nothing were else to go in, we have 2 years of coverage stored there currently.
So I make a motion to adopt, approve the water lease agreement between the city of Monte Vista and the Rio Grande Conservation District.
Been moved and seconded to approve this contract and have GG Dennis sign. We had some questions out there, but. So the water lease agreement. Any other discussion? We take discussion from citizens on this. Not supposed to.
Well, according to protocol, no, none of these questions should be shouted out.
Right.
But it's to your prerogative, Mr. Mayor, do it whatever you'd like.
Well,
Vote, and I can talk to these folks off.
all right, like you, we can do that. All right, Anita?
Counselor Naranjo,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard,
Take it up with Rob.
Mayor Becker.
Aye. Take it up with
Motion
Rob.
carries to approve the contract with the water lease agreement between the city of Monte Vista and the Rio Grande Water Conservation District.
Talk to Rob again. You wanna go talk to Rob? You said you would talk to, okay. All right. Go to staff proposals and reports. Recreation. And I sure hope your staff wrote your report, cause
You hope what?
your staff wrote your report tonight.
But first thing, and that, all due respect to the speakers before. And county, my first 2 years here, and I don't think it was mentioned in that, quite a bit of my budget was towards the golf course and that by Gigi. So, and I don't think that was mentioned enough in that, so I just want to say that, too, that huge portion of my budget that
Well, thank you.
went towards that too. And
Appreciate
I just want to say that, not all due respect to everyone knows, but I
Yeah,
would like to mention that, so.
yeah, I can concur with Durbin, and I need to make sure that Carla and Jake remember that, so.
Yeah.
Council approved in our budget 2 years ago, we put a chunk of money, not as much cash as the county, so thank you, county commissioners, on that. And then also all of the water and the sewer main, we did it at no cost to them, and so. The city had a pretty active role in this beautiful asset that is the city's, so.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, now be Durbin again.
All right.
Okay, so yes, my staff wrote my report again. So our youth soccer season kicked off last Saturday. It was awesome. It was great. The park was packed with kids from all over San Luis Valley out playing soccer, having a great time. So she says we've had a great start so far and are excited to see continued participation. The adult basketball program is currently going on over at Sky High, and we have 14 teams, 7 women's teams that we've never had before, that many teams since I've been here, 7 men's teams, and the women are causing most of the problems this year. I don't know so it's just, looking ahead with youth baseball, and I know that's a big topic right now. But we have a game plan for the youth baseball that I'll give next month's meeting. And that I didn't know that the property was still ours that would be used. So we're going to drag it, get it ready so that folks can go out there and practice on it. So there will be practice space out there for use, and then we'll use the middle school for games. Now, so we're going to get those two ready for at least hit ground balls, take practice on, teams can practice on. And we continue to write grants and whatnot to fund our fields out at the middle school. So we did just receive some funding and that from REC of $9,000 to help out with that. And we're continuing to get cutoff dates now for grants to be received and decisions made on grants. So we're looking forward to and excited about hearing the news about that. So, any questions for recreation? Okay,
Carry on with Sky High then.
all right. What my staff says, okay, we've had an exciting and active April with approximately 30 events taking place throughout the month. To add to that, every single week we have had we have worked out there 6 days, 6 out of the 7 days that they're staffed out there or some type of event that is going on at Sky High. So that's pretty exciting to see. And I honestly believe one of the things I wanted it to become was a true community event center. And I think it's headed that way and headed in that direction, not with the number of community events, recreation events, as well as weddings, memorial services, and that we are out there just about every day for, like I said, 6 out of 7 days. Some days it's 7 out of 7 that we are there, providing some type of activity. So we're looking ahead. We're especially excited about our first major event, the Cumbia Kings concert. It's coming up in just 2 weeks on May 2nd. It's shaping up into a fantastic experience, and we look forward to seeing everyone there. So then my assistant, who's your buddy, okay, asks, her son's graduating on the 2nd. So she asked, can I have that day off, please? Can I go watch my son graduate? How do I say no to that? So she won't be there. We've also formed a dedicated group of 8 to 10 individuals called the Community Events Planning Committee. This team is focused on bringing both small and large events to Sky High. Currently, the committee meets every 2 weeks, or I'm sorry, it meets quarterly, and hopefully the more we come closer to our events that we're going to host, we'll meet every 2 weeks to every week. Also, we are teaming with Fox 21 for their We Are Southern Colorado, or We Are SLV, San Luis Valley, and they are going to be doing some advertising for us. I believe 2 years ago they interviewed the mayor, and then looking back on this event and that. So our biggest thing is that we want to see what it brings to us, how it's going to benefit us. So we're going to try to get some measurements to see how that's going to benefit us, because it does take quite a bit out of my budget again. All these people are spending money out of my budget. Man. So we have agreed with them, though. What they're going to do is Monday through Friday, we're going to have 30-second commercials 5 times. And I will just have, you need to put this in your council packet for next week, though, just explaining the entire thing.
Next week.
Or for you. So, and then just the Cumbia Kings, looking forward to that. And that is my report, short and sweet. Any questions?
They'll come to me.
What's that?
They'll come to me. For Dunk Tank.
Duct Tape Dale is available.
Thank you.
Thanks, Irvin. Kids Connection. Or superhero.
I don't feel it today. I actually had a kid sitting at the end of the day that they were like, he was asking, they were talking about something, about the 1900s, which sounds like a really long time ago. I was like, did you know I was born in the 1900s? And he was like, that's not possible. And I told him, how old do you think I am? He was like, 16 or 17. I'm like, you are amazing, child. But he could not understand how that was even possible. So good evening. I just have a couple of updates for you. In March, we had a visit from our CACFP partners, which is our child and adult food program. You're missing a word in there. Anyway, it's one of our sponsors that oversees our after school and Friday food programs. She came in and did everything that she needed to do, and I'm happy to report that we had no deficiencies. So we have made it through year 2 with them, running our food program, in a proper manner. Along with that, this afternoon, Gigi, myself, and Jesse met with Stephanie Perez Carrillo from Caring for Colorado Foundation. As you remember, we applied for grant funding at the end of last year. We were invited to reapply for the part 2 of grant funding. And then from that, we were invited for, or they invited themselves, which is really interesting, for a site visit to meet with us and just kind of get to know the program a little bit more. So we met with her this afternoon, gave her all of the details about the program, how it operates, answered any questions that they needed to know so that she could go back and report to her board. And then we will know June 9th, if they will move forward with funding for Kids Connection. I think the meeting went really well. She seemed to kind of understand the program, and I feel like we did a good job of getting her to understand our passion behind the program, and the fact that Jesse and I have been with the program for as long as we have, I think probably helps. So other than that, I don't have really anything else. We have kids every day after school. It's just as crazy and chaotic as it is every day. We're still seeing close to 50 kids each day after school. Although my K through 2nd grade group has been larger than the 3rd through 5th grade group lately. I just keep, more little kids just keep popping out of nowhere, and I don't know where they're coming from, but they're enjoying themselves. They're keeping us busy. Other than that, we just have our poker tournament scheduled for May 9th at the golf course from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. I wish I had more information about anybody that has signed up to play, but I have not been able to touch base with Abby since the last time that I spoke with her, which was last week, to see if she has had anybody enroll for playing the tournament yet. We are still looking for sponsors. I think the sponsorship search is going okay. It could probably be, I wish it was much better, but we will get there when the time needs to happen. So really, other than that, we have our ads up on Facebook, ads through the radio, and then we will have an interview. We're trying to get an interview scheduled next week through SL Voices so that podcast goes out as well. Do you have any questions for me? No. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Anika. City Attorney, Mr. Crow.
Good evening. So since I saw you last, what's once again taking most of my time is HR stuff. But that included, not limited to, meeting with Sursa and some council that we're working with and through with that. Had a meeting with the Pueblo City Attorney last Friday at her office to go over some things and also assisting us with that. That's been a time consumer for several departments. We did have court again last week. We had hoped for a trial and we were ready for a trial on a drug house. And I explained that to the individual that showed up, and he wanted to think about it. So he's considering a plea of guilty, but it doesn't matter to me. We're ready to go. And we're already, I think, set, was it next month? But for trial on that drug house. He may want to confess his sins. So we'll see how it works out. If he does so, it'll cost him less money than if he goes through trial. So we'll see. Worked on the tree contract, trying to help DJ a little bit with that and firm that up and protect the city a little bit more. And then also did some work on our AI policy and shut that out to our guys, and they're taking a look at it, on that. And on my radar is maybe the golf course. We'll take a look at that lease again and see if I need to firm that up, if there's anything we're missing there, if I can add anything to it. That's it. Short and sweet. Questions?
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, man.
Thank you.
City manager. You always gotta watch, judge how big a piece of paper shows.
Sticky notes. It's just different it's just different colors. Not a yellow one, so there's no sunshine.
Only one-sided.
Rob and I and Judy have been continuing to work with CDPHE and the whole wastewater treatment plant. And it's still daunting. We had a meeting with their compliance department this week, and to me, their silence was kind of numbing. It's like, has the amount that we're gonna have to consume and borrow really impacted them? And finally, one of the guys that has been with them for quite a few years just said, how did we get here? How did it get so expensive? And I think it's just the whole supply chain issue. It's still daunting. And so we've shipped off a lot of paperwork to USDA Rural Development for them to look at and assess how much they could maybe give us in grant, and then the rest offset in loan. We have, just forgot who else we talked to. We've talked to CDPHE about cutting out the biosolids that are going to have to be cleaned up into the future, but can at least come off of the top. The bottom line is that all of this, at some point, the city's going to have to take on $49 million in debt. And so we are still playing the shuffle game, looking for grants, trying to get help. And Rob and I will go to a DOLA meeting the first week of May to request $1 million in grant. That's the max we can ask from them on this. And we're just poking away. And when we have more concrete information, we'll do a work session on it and lay it all out for you.
Did CDPHE seem open, or did it react at all to the concept of staging things?
They said that they needed to get in their own huddle and they would get back to us. They were very non-committal on anything on the phone conversation.
Okay.
Is that fair, Bob? We had a 1 cent committee meeting this last week, and that went well. The first meeting in maybe the second meeting. Anyway, they're scheduled to actually come and present to you all for Commissioner Naranjo. The 1 cent committee is a volunteer advisory board that oversees the 1 cent that is allocated between Sky High, Public Works, and the police department. So they'll be giving you an update. The chief and I met with the local pastors, some of the local pastors this week. They meet monthly. And so I go and meet with them every 4 or 5 months. And so chief was able to introduce himself and talk a little bit about the force. And he will probably put that in his update for next week, but very positive. When you talk
next week. Why do you
well, the next meeting.
everybody knows next week? We have a meeting next week?
Some days this place just never stops.
Getting to see you.
Need to drink the water.
Next month. Next month.
Next month.
Do you do something we didn't think of?
Yeah, well, she pulls that on us every once in a while. Gonna have a meeting.
Yeah, we need to have a meeting. A work session on the generator project. Even with scaling the project back to be able to achieve the goals that we wanted, we'll be able to get the generator. But if we continue forward with the restroom and shower facility, we will be $235,000 over budget.
Do the generator.
The generator is done. Well, it's not done. Everything's been ordered and in place to complete that portion of it. Our challenge is that since the biggest chunk of the funding for this project came from DOLA and congressionally earmarked funds, we've got to go back to them and say, here's what's happened. Can we just downgrade this and return the money to you? The balance or what? But it's really, we're still working on other suggestions to present to you guys to say, where do we want to go with this? So it's disappointing. It's not what we had envisioned, but it's just too much to carry on right now. So we've got to come up with alternatives. The neighborhood watch program, they've moved their days to Tuesday. It's the third Tuesday. I showed up this past week. So did Margot. We were there and nobody else was. So we had our own watch of the neighborhood. So it's this next week if you want to go. I had a nice, interesting meeting today with our newspaper reporter, Marie McComb, who's still in the audience right now. And we as a community, we as the San Luis Valley community is about ready to lose our newspaper. The Valley Courier is looking at scaling back dramatically and just going to 1 day a week potentially. And there won't be any, they changed the Monte Vista Journal to the San Luis SLV Journal. That will go away. The current administration is more interested in, I'll say, fluff pieces versus substantive pieces, such as talking about water, talking about housing, talking about, some of these bigger things that truly impact our communities. And so I'll probably write a letter, and whether you guys just want Dale to sign it or all of you sign it, so we make the point of saying, look, what do we need to do to try and keep this going and providing our constituents with news that is relevant and that carries weight in informing the community. An article about water conservation wouldn't be on their agenda. So thank goodness we've got Bob Richards and his radio station, 4 stations, three, the AM and then the 2 FM stations, that does an awesome job relaying the news. There's also an online version, the Alamosa Citizen, but they want to do away with paper. So that more to come, I guess, on that. And then I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that this next week, April the 20th, will be the 4th anniversary of the fire that occurred in Monte Vista. It took out 15 structures. 6 of those were homes. And with the delicate dryness that we have going on, how people just need to be aware, what are you burning? We have no open burns regulation in the city. You can have a fireplace, an outdoor fire pit, and you can have barbecue grill, but there's no open burning on your lawns. You can't burn trash. And so just wanted to bring that awareness. We brought that up to the pastors, and they may come up with some sort of a little event next year for the 5th anniversary, just to kind of show how we come together and can be strong and get through these sorts of community challenges. So, questions? I do, since Commissioner Glover's here, I do want to say thank you for the county's participation in the golf course. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Gigi. Council committee, city commission, and council reports. Mayor Pro Tem Howard.
Oh. Not enough money, not enough water.
Very much so.
That's the story of our life.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's. Keep fighting, right?
That's it. One step at a time, man.
Keep working at it.
All we can do.
We'll get the showers one day.
Pray for rain, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, with the fire department, they do a great job, but even the
Pray for money too.
the local police too, you know, because gets hotter, so these guys get a lot busier during this time of year. There's a lot of stuff going around now, but once the weather starts to get a lot hotter, people start to get. It starts to get a lot more attention. People get upset and pretty scary out there. So continue to pray for these guys. They're doing a great job. But
Thank you. Well, okay, Gene, Commissioner, thank you for being here.
CDPHE is really a great organization to not have to talk to very often.
I'm figuring that out more and more.
We have worked on OWTS for the county. We've worked on our jail system. You know, now they've got new jail standards. The $23 million jail was gonna build is now $57 million. So we probably will not build that this year, or maybe not next year. But just so you know, Delaware has the most water in the river right now.
Well, that's
It's
positive.
right behind my house.
You know, with water restrictions, I want to say that. So I hope a lot of people hear this. It's so important that we pay heed to that. You know, we talk about people having lawns and stuff, and I cut mine, I'll be straight up, I cut mine down. I mean, I butch cut it. I did a stretch cut. Okay. And I used some products, humic acid, on my lawn. And I thought it was winter killed. But by golly, it's coming back. And I haven't hardly watered it since I did what I did. And I will continue to do that. So.
Is it expensive? So
No.
like, and is it easy to apply if we do
You
something
can-
like that with the parks?
You can get it in dry form. Or you can get it in liquid form.
Like
And it-
I didn't see it. I mean, or I'm not here to
Yeah.
advertise it, but you can go buy a bag of, like you buy a bag of fertilizer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
you can use a fertilizer. You can do.
we can talk
spray that.
afterwards, but yeah, there's different ways of applying it. So, and it's very actually low use rate. There's a lot of farmers that use it, and it'll go on like a quart to a half gallon per acre. It's not that bad, but and we can talk later on that, Rob. But you know, you guys, like Stretch said, keep the police always in your mind because they're out there in force. You may not see them, but they're out there. They're out there. So with that, you know, let's pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhoods. Help educate your neighbor about taking care of their yard. And with that, we will adjourn this meeting till May 7th, 2026, 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Monty Strong.